Hey everybody, happy Friday. It is Book Friday. It is going over the 5 love languages. We are on chapter 7 and we are on love language number 4, acts of service.
Get your vacuums out.
That's
people.
right. And start doing them dishes.
Actually, it doesn't even matter if I say this about every love language, but I feel like most of these are important in marriage no matter if it is their love language or not. Yeah. Please do the dishes. Please vacuum.
Yeah, there's going to be
I don't care if it's my love language or not.
Yeah, there's going to be people that are going to jump in and do whatever needs to be done.
But it's extra special for those people who actually
enjoy having that done for them.
Yeah,
acts
and
of service.
Fills their love tank.
Yeah, it fills the love tank. Exactly.
Yeah.
Grab that vacuum and watch what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and dishes.
Woo!
And dishes. And laundry.
I don't know why I just saw Mrs. Doubtfire running across with that vacuum.
So run by fruiting.
So anyways, we digress, but let's get on with the chapter. And there's some really good stuff in here.
Yes,
Not
there
only just some great people he worked with and some great advice, but also the fact that some of the love languages, even though your spouse has the love language of acts of service, you may be doing acts of service and not even filling their love tank if it's not what they were wanting done.
Right.
I noticed that in here. So stay tuned
and
for
you'll
that.
get frustrated. So you need to find out what their love language is and what yours is.
So this video is really, really important.
Yep.
If you haven't taken the love language test, you can go online to just Google the 5 love languages quiz, and you and your spouse can take that. You can also go back into all the videos we have done now 1 through 7, and you can follow us along in the book. We've put them in a playlist on our page, so you can just pick up a book and go through it. But right now we are on chapter 7, and we start out immediately with, of course, a couple, and this couple is Dave and Mary, and they disagree on everything is what it says. It says, can a couple make it in their marriage? I'm on page 93. Can a couple make it in their marriage if they disagree on everything? That's a very good question. I mean, if you're there, you're probably in a very frustrated spot.
Yeah, I mean, you're pushing the D word, the D word envelope. I mean, if you are getting annoyed and frustrated with everything your spouse is doing, it's time to get to counseling. It's time to do the love language book. It's time to, get with the program and find out what on earth is going on.
And read this chapter, because here we have a couple that has been married for, I'm not sure how long it said, but they basically disagree about everything.
Yeah,
and
all of it.
He finds out that they both kind of have the love language of acts of service, and neither of them are meeting each other's needs. So the complaining is she no longer has the house clean. She doesn't have the kids cleaned up or anything when he gets home. She's never even hardly started dinner, and he just is tired from work and he wants to come home and just have a meal and relax. Her complaints are he never washes the car anymore. He always goes hunting. He doesn't help out around the house. He doesn't help. And as we kind of go through this story, we find out that Dr. Chapman, Gary Chapman, he starts to ask them questions, and everything is about, he never does this, and she never does this, and he never does that. And he starts to ask him, well, what happened before you were married, when you were courting? And Mary starts to say, well, he would come over after he was done hunting. So he did hunt back then, but he came home in time for dinner, and then he would come and help her maybe do the dishes at her house. And if he came over for dinner, he'd help her study for her schooling.
Yeah, he was like doing all kinds of helping stuff. He was helping her with pretty much everything, you know, because he wanted to be around her, and that was a way he could spend time with her, you know?
Yeah, and he said even he'd finish hunting and he'd go wash the car really quick because he wanted to show up with a nice clean car.
Yep.
And then he'd go over, and she said it was just, he was different than all the other guys. He was helpful, and he was always wanting to help me study. He was always wanting to help me do the dishes and do my chores.
Yep.
And then what changed? And then he tells Gary Chapman that as soon as they were married, he felt like the roles should be like his parents were. And his dad never helped around the house and only worked and never did this and never did that. So what happened is he portrayed a different personality before they were married than after, as soon as they got married.
So I'm sure she was like, well, this is bait and switch, you know?
Yeah.
He was one way before they got married, and then all of a sudden he switches to kick it into gear like how his mom and dad were. And then all of a sudden she's like, whoa, wait a minute. That's, she's thinking to herself, that's not how it was.
And
when we dated.
How many times do we hear that? How many times do you feel that? How many times have you heard that from friends that are married, that the spouse is nothing like they were when they were dating?
We hear it all the time from people.
Yeah.
People that have struggled in their marriages, we hear it all the time. Well, that's not the person I married. Mm-hmm. Or now that this isn't the person that I was dating. Or whatever. It's like, well, something happened between point A and point B. Mm-hmm. So you need to back the bus up and look around and figure out why.
Yeah. So
what happened?
I want to pose the question to you guys out there. Maybe you guys can answer this. If you're watching this video, think about this. What has changed since your courtship or since you were dating? Between the two of you, be honest about yourself and be honest about your spouse. What's different from the time you were dating to now? What has changed? And I think if you're honest about yourself, you might realize that you're not, doing the same things to court your spouse, back then who you were dating, that you were then. Maybe you slumped into some typical roles, like you saw your parents or you saw somebody on TV acting like this or this, and so you feel like you need to be in those roles. Like men always do this, women do that.
Yeah, the stereotyping of husband and wife roles. I mean, it doesn't have to be that way. Irregardless whether your parents did things a certain way and you feel that that's how it's supposed to be, well, if it wasn't a really good situation, even though you think it was a good situation, maybe you need to look at your own marriage and figure out, or when you get married, you probably should be talking to your fiance about it. What is it that they are thinking that would be a good marriage? What roles? I mean, what are the roles?
Well, and
what,
I think
how
that
to set it up.
We obviously most of the time have different roles or different personalities, different situations than our parents did.
Right.
If your parents, the husband worked and your mom stayed home, you may be both working, and that's a different situation. You guys need to work together because you're exhausted.
I was just going to say, your marriage is not going to be cookie cutter. Yeah. Everyone's marriage is different. I guarantee you, everyone's marriage is different. It's not going to be cookie cutter. So keep that in mind when you're going through, the motions in your relationship before you get married or after you get married or whatever. You're going to have to customize your marriage, how it works for you guys.
Yeah, your personalities, your jobs, your just your needs.
And don't assume that your wife is going to have dinner on the table every night, or that your husband is going to, mow the yard every other day, or whatever. Don't just assume things.
Yeah, and also where was I thinking with that? But
I don't know.
Sorry,
I interrupted you.
No. I was just thinking the same thing. Like, don't assume those exact roles that you've seen played out.
Right.
Do something that's just custom for your spouse. And if
Right.
your spouse has the need, that's what I was thinking. Seasons. The seasons of your life are going to change too. So don't lock those roles into play.
Yep.
Because when the kids are little, you guys might need to help each other out more. And you might change into a different season where something else is needed.
Right.
And, we went from me being a homemaker to me then owning a business.
Yeah.
And that's a totally different world.
Businesswoman.
Yeah. And businesswoman. Blah.
Yeah, exhausted. That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
And that
it'll enough to wear you down for sure.
Yeah. So if you're changing from one season to another, your love languages, your needs might change.
That is
what
true.
I meant by that too. So answer that question if you can in the description, or at least discuss it with your spouse. What has changed since your courtship? He also, on page 97, was talking about no one likes to be forced to do anything. What he ends up doing with this couple is he has them sit down on the church steps and write out 3 or 4 things that they wish that their spouse would do for them.
Yeah.
And hers were something like, I can't remember, wash the car. I can't remember exactly, but help her change the baby's diaper, stuff like that.
Yeah.
She had 4 and he had 4, which was, can you...
make up the beds every day, have the baby's face washed when I get home, put her shoes in the closet before I get home, try to have supper at least started before I get home so that we can eat, 30 to 45 minutes after he got home. I know he's trying to be realistic and somewhat, according to this list of things, living in 1950. But according to everybody's standards nowadays, I mean, there'd be a lot of upheaval and gasps and things like that. But this is just...
You're trying to meet your spouse's needs.
This is what he came up with, and she came up with 4 that are comparable to his 4. So it talks about the difference between demanding and requesting. Right.
So if you're like, I need you to do this, and I need you to do that, and I need you to do this, and nagging and all that kind of stuff, that's not requesting.
Nope.
But maybe having a sit down with you and your spouse where you each write out things that you need.
Yep.
3 or 4 things, no more than that. And then saying, you know what, if you could do this list, what he tells them is, you don't have to do this list. It says, no one likes to be forced to do anything. In fact, love is always freely given. Love cannot be demanded. We request things of each other, but we must never demand anything. Requests give direction to love, but demand stops the flow of love. So if you request it and then say, he told them, just do these services as if you want to, as if this is your act of love for your spouse. So
if you get demanding, you're going to be met with a wall. And it's going to be hard to recover from being met with a wall. I'm just saying, you can't demand anything.
But yeah,
it's going to rub the spouse the wrong way.
And you're not going to want to do something that's like, I got to do this. That's not love.
No, it turns into bitterness.
Do the acts for your spouse out of love, saying, if I do these things, this means I love you.
Yep.
Because I don't really want to do these things. But these things that we agreed upon are the things that say I love you.
Yep.
So he had a very practical way of telling them how to do that, which I really, really liked. And I even had it written again, you don't have to do these things, but if you will do them, they will be an act of love. And then he actually I think he talks about this same couple the entire time. Here's back to what we were talking about before on page 100. He says, after marriage, we revert to being the people we were before we fell in love. I don't know what that is about marriage. It's like suddenly you can relax and be yourself, and maybe yourself wasn't as loving of a person as you could be. So that's the sad truth.
Yeah, and love is a choice and cannot be coerced.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be forced into love. But you know what? If you do stuff for each other, if that's your love language, the acts of service, you'll see things change. Definitely for a positive direction in your relationship. If that's your love language, acts of service. So
Yeah.
it
And
can
I think
turn
just
things
helping
around.
each other out too, just as an act of service, and just shows love, even if it's not fully filling their love tank.
Yeah.
We need to be each other's teammates. We're on the same team. We need to, it's kind of like a relay race. One person is running and getting that relay, and now they're exhausted, and they've got to sometimes hand that baton over, and the other person takes over, and you're working together in life like that. You're just trying to help each other out and lift each other up, and
Yeah.
it's like some kind of a relay race where you're helping each other over obstacles.
Well, and even the Bible says, blessed is a man that falls and that has someone to help him up, and vice versa. If your wife is just totally exhausted and she needs your help, you should step up and help,
And vice versa.
It's your responsibility to be your spouse's helpmeet, to help them when they're down, frustrated, sad, depressed, just at a loss. That's why we are married. We complement each other. We help each other. My strengths take care of her weaknesses. Her strengths take care of my weaknesses. We are one unit. We are here for each other.
And definitely not doing it perfectly.
No, I'm not saying we're perfect.
I got some skin knees and
I'm just saying
roughed up elbows, but
we
keep helping each other back up.
Yeah, you have to be there for each other.
Like,
period.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh, and then on page 101, did you have anything on that, or page 101? I have listed, people tend to criticize their spouse most loudly in the area where they themselves have the deepest emotional need. So he's talking here about criticism, and he's talking about that a mature person, mature lover, will be able to hear their spouse's criticism and change it to, they're being really critical. Why are they being so critical? And like you said, people tend to criticize their spouse most loudly in the area where they themselves have the deepest emotional need. So if your spouse is kind of grumpy and cranky, start tuning in to their complaints and their grumbling. It's not good for them to complain and grumble. They need to communicate better. However, you can't change them. You can only change you. So turn that into, what is it that they're needing so badly? What is that voice complaining about? Maybe they have a hurt or a insecurity, or maybe they have a need. Maybe they need you to help them with the dishes or some laundry, just to help. Maybe they're just saying, I'm just so tired, I can't,
Maybe they just need you to listen to them.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe you just need to be a sounding board, a listening ear.
While you fold some laundry.
Someone to confide in while you fold laundry. Exactly. Why didn't I think of that?
Because you're a man.
Yeah. I think I've folded my share of laundry,
Jay does a lot of
especially
laundry.
lately.
It's true.
Oh, boy.
It's true. But do you have something on there on...
I had underlined the same thing
that we both
you did.
See, we're just alike.
Yeah, we're on the same page. That's scary, huh?
Oh, and he's talking about being a doormat. Just because your spouse...
Not to be a doormat.
Yeah, just because your spouse is doing acts of service for you, don't treat them like a doormat. And you don't have to be treated like a doormat either. So this is not about one spouse doing all the service and working really hard. This is about both spouses pitching in and helping. You definitely don't want to be treated like a doormat.
Yeah.
So he actually, on the last page, 102, he says something about if you're allowing him or her to develop inhumane habits, that's not love. Love says, I love you too much to let you treat me this way. It's not good for you or me. So, yes, they can ask you for help, but they can't expect you to do all the work and all the stuff to love them, you have to say, I can't be treated like this. So he has a whole really good little chapter or little part on that.
Nobody wants to be a punching bag, to just be railroaded or steamrolled over. No one should have to put up with that. So it's about teamwork.
The bottom question he has, the question at the end says, many acts of service will involve household chores, but not all. What are some non-chore ways of serving your mate? We didn't discuss this before. So, like, non-chore ways of serving your mate. Oh.
How about this? How about getting your spouse a cup of hot tea in the evening?
Yes.
Because that's not a chore.
Yeah, it's not a household chore.
That's blessing your spouse.
That's like, oh, thank God I got a cup of tea and I could just sit here.
When they're tired, you go get them a spiced chai latte.
You always say that.
Or, it's because I like going and getting coffees. The other thing you can do is put a mint on their pillow. There's a
love letter.
A love letter.
Okay, so guys,
there you go.
I was a lot better at this in my younger years. I used to put little love notes rolled up in his socks.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
She also put them in my lunches. She had them everywhere. I would go into the fridge and leftovers, there'd be a note. In the chips, there would be a note on the chip bag. There would be notes in my drawer, in my sock drawer.
And I don't do that anymore.
There was little notes everywhere. It was actually really cool. It's actually really cool.
I need to do that again. So sometimes you get lazy, I think, or something old.
Well, I think we're just getting old.
But,
we're just older now.
That was a wonderful thing that I got to do, and especially if he was taking a trip somewhere.
Yep.
In
my suitcase.
I'd hide him in his suitcase.
Yep.
And everything.
And what's really great is I still have a lot of those notes. She doesn't know that, but I do. I saved them.
They're little silly things.
I've got them.
Sometimes it was just a happy face with a...
Yep. It's okay. It's all good.
Anyway, but yeah, there's some like little things you can just let your spouse know that you love them, and acts of service. And how about a foot rub?
Yeah, how about a foot rub?
That's a good one. That's not a household chore.
Yeah, that is not a household. That's a chore, but it's not a household chore. Oh, no, but in all seriousness, yeah, a back rub, a foot rub. I'm sure draw their bath for them.
Warm up their car in the winter for them.
Yeah, scrape their windshield.
And
oh
my gosh.
Warm up their car if you live in a place like we do that has snow.
Yeah. These little,
but
if you guys have some ideas, write them down in the comments. We would love to hear some of your guys' ideas of acts of service.
Yeah.
Whether they're chores, or we want to hear a bunch that are not chores, and how you service your spouse, or are you planning on doing better, and maybe doing a few things for your spouse that you haven't done in a long time.
Yeah, creative ideas of things that mean a lot to your spouse that maybe we didn't think about.
Cut their sandwich in a heart shape.
Yeah, PB&J.
So what I do is I told my kids and my hubby that if I cut your sandwich in a diagonal, that is a sign that I love you. So I would always cut it in a diagonal unless I was mad at him, and then he got it straight across and he knew.
Yep.
That's it.
And I'm like, uh-oh. Time to give her a back rub when I get home.
So little things, that are maybe your little ways of saying that you love somebody.
Yeah, just mention them in the comments below, and we'll respond back to you.
Yeah, but then again, at the end, really quick, they always have a list. If your spouse has acts of service, there's a bunch of ideas.
Yeah.
And it talks even about not requesting as if you're nagging or put downs or anything, and it's a reminder. But it's a really good chapter and good to go through all those questions in the back.
Yeah, it was good reading it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not our love language, but it was good reading it. You know what I'm saying?
Even though it doesn't fully fill my love tank, it sure does fill my anti-stress tank.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need things to be clean.
Yeah.
And I like...
And help.
Yeah.
I mean, she almost does jumping jacks when I vacuum. So, right?
That. Yes.
Yeah. See? So, there you go.
I love a clean vacuumed house.
So, next time you're in a fight with your spouse, grab the vacuum.
Amen.
Anyway, that's all we have for you for today.
Yes.
Enjoy your Friday. And until then, this is Jay and Krista helping you say I do forever. See you guys.
Bye, guys. Love ya.